Howdy, y'all. It's Cody from the Keepers of Nerdom. How you doing? So I thought a long time ago I had made a video about ranking the Star Wars movies, and apparently I never actually had, or it was inside of another video or something. Let me know in the comments below if you found it before and was like, oh yeah, you already did. But I think it'd be a great time to revisit this because someone actually requested this, and this is totally not going to be a controversial video at all because people everywhere just have the equal appreciations for all the Star Wars films completely. It's totally fine. It's going to be great. I don't see any problems with this at all. It's going to be fine. What could go wrong? Okay. Now that we've said that, let's go through. Okay, we're going to start with we'll just go down the row of what they've got here. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because this will get crazy fast. So, first off is the Star Wars The Clone Wars movies. I forgot about this film. I know I've seen it because it has the little baby Jabba the Hutt thing. Is it Nada the Hutt? I can't remember the name of the baby Hutt. But what I remember was it was kind of like our intro to Ahsoka, and she was obnoxious in that movie. It was more just an inoffensive, fun trip down memory lane of, hey, let's get some Star Wars action and show you some more about the Clone Wars and start this whole series and shows. And for what I remember, I'm going to put it in B tier right now and leave it there for now because I just don't remember very much about it. It wasn't that it was really, really good, but it wasn't bad. It was just there. And that's the case. We're gonna actually skip the next one that's down here. We're gonna move that one to like, yeah, back there. That's fine because that one's a little bit different than some of the rest. So let's get into this. Yeah. So first off, we have Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I think it's so hard because we don't have like a good middle because B tier and C tier are a little different. Let's okay. I'm gonna put it in B tier for now, and I might adjust it down to C tier. I don't know because it's inoffensive Star Wars fun. Did we need to know all these details about Star Wars and how it functions? No. Was it helpful in a way? Yeah. Was it fun? Yes. Was the actor playing Harrison Ford perfect at the role? No. Some of the putting in C tier just now I'm thinking about it. Some of the interactions that happen in the film, we'll scoot down just a little bit there. There we go. Just Lando Calrissian, they went to our more modern politics concept and way of doing things, and it really changed his characterization from what we'd seen, or really added more to it that wasn't shown in the original trilogies. And it's frustrating with that because I just don't. It didn't line up with the character of what had been shown before. And I think that's always the key with movies, that if they're not going to really give an accurate representation of the character, then I don't want to necessarily see that because it's frustrating. Did the Millennium Falcon look cool in that film? Yes, it did. Was the droid that was Lando Calrissian's backup like interesting? In a way, yes, but it was very much like social justice warrior stuff in a Star Wars film personified in a droid, and that was fascinating in a way at times, and then really just frustrating because it was just too on the nose. Yeah, Solo was not a bad film, but it wasn't a film that I really want to go back and watch again and again. That's where I'm at with that. So okay, that's that one. All right, so we go to Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I will actually put this one in B tier. I enjoy the film. I love the concept of Count Dooku and the fact that there's a conspiracy and a plot. I will say the greasy hair of Obi-Wan is hilariously bad and funny when you go back and watch it. The CGI definitely does not hold up in this film and its predecessor, I will say that. But the story is interesting, but really where I think it only hits B tier is because the love scenes between Anakin and Padme are awkward as heck. And they're just not well written. They're weird. They're very bizarre. I'm just not a fan of what's going on there. You either, Gowron, right? Okay, yeah, he agrees. Uh, Weird stuff there. So just a strange concept going on there, but like the action scenes, they're good. They're interesting. We got some good stuff. Yeah. So Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. This is a hard one because honestly, I kind of like it. I think it's an A tier movie. It's close there. Um, yeah, yeah, I would say so. It's A tier. The fight scenes are insanely amazing. It's less awkward about the relationship between Anakin and Padme. In Parkus Hayden Christensen's just a little bit more mature, and I think he's written a little bit better. Um, there's obviously some plot issues with the Jedi should have figured something out, or Anakin just should have been like, okay, whoa, this doesn't add up to reality with the Emperor with Palpatine. But Ian McDermott just chews up scenery, fights between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then Yoda and Palpatine. Just really neat stuff. Some amazing shots there, and just the action scenes are fantastic. And the fight with Grievous, like it's just all really good fight scenes, and the action and the CGI holds up much better at that point in those films. Just on a whole nother level as far as the action. Where the story isn't as strong, I think is maybe its weaker spots. So there we go. All right, Star Wars: A New Hope. I would say actually, let's put it as S tier for now. We'll kind of talk about that in a moment here, but I think it is obviously it's the film that started the franchise. Seeing it back in the 70s would have been just an incredible moment. Obviously, we don't have the same movie as the people that watched initially because Jabba the Hutt wasn't in it as a big slug worm thing. It was just a guy with furry outfit on, right? Not like he's covered all the in complete outfit or anything, but just like a big fuzzy coat. It was weird, and that was it. Very strange there. That we have some of those things, but you obviously what you've got is a movie from its time and reimagining this entire idea of how do these things look and feel. And the very first film in the franchise shows us Y-Wings, and Y-Wings are the best starfighter in all of Star Wars. And you can argue with me all you want, except for the fact that you're wrong. So that's just it. That's the reality of it. You can't, because most other fighters don't have ion cannons. So Y-Wings for the win. Anyway, I think it's overall a good film. It's very simple. It's very solid. We think we're introduced to the big bad, and really he's just a henchman for the bigger big bad. And it just sets up a great concept of here's a princess that's going to take action, but she's also needing help as well. But, it's that interesting balance. Like she has both heroism in her own story, but also she needs help as well, and that's the beauty of it. And Luke's over here going, I have no clue what's going on, but I'm just going to try to do something because it sounds like a fun adventure, and you get that sense of that. And really, I think what elevates this film in a way is Han Solo, and obviously the droids. You just learn to love them so fast in just a simple way. Darth Vader is just so menacing. And Obi-Wan, played by like one of my favorite actors, and now I'm blanking on his name, Sir Alec Guinness. Just so good. I think he plays it so well, and I'm glad that they got him, and then the actor for Grand Moff Tarkin as well. They really elevate the film's seriousness, that it's not meant to be just a kid's movie and silly and goofy, but a serious story, and it hits like that, and I think that's really cool. All right, next film is The Empire Strikes Back, which is obviously S tier. It's one of my top films, easily, of Star Wars. Why? Well, it's darker, and it's more intense, and evil wins. Not that I want that necessarily, but it makes it more like, whoa, this isn't supposed to happen. And it's interesting. Like, at the end of the film, what have we got? Well, we've got Luke without a hand and getting repaired, and there's hope at the end of the film, but Han Solo has been frozen into carbonite. Luke lost his hand. He obviously isn't even anywhere near ready for Vader. Whole nother just level of it's just serious. Interesting. Oh, plus we also get the Death Star in the very first film of the movie, and we get to see it actually like destroy a planet and like just set up like already there's this massive thing that's really serious, really insane. I appreciate that. I think that's amazing that they did that fast. Crazy, mind-boggling. Wow. But Empire Strikes Back, right? Like Hoth is fascinating. We get introduced to Yoda. There's so much loss and betrayal, and Boba Fett is introduced. These interesting other characters, Lando Calrissian, just all these pieces. And actually, one of my favorite Lego sets that I own came from that because I just wanted it for the was it named Lobo or something, and it's basically those servant people that Lando Calrissian has around Cloud City that with the interface thing around their ears, covering their ears up, and it's the Bespin Cloud Car, and he came in it, and it's like one of my favorite sets, and I have it up in my attic still just because I don't know why I liked it because it's a dumb set because the Cloud Car didn't look great. It was pretty boxy in the Lego version at that point, but it was fun for the minifigure, and just the idea of the whole thing was just key. It was just cool. Anyway, just funny. And yeah, just Empire Strikes Back, like we get introduced to new worlds, but it's just so dark and mysterious and fascinating. Yeah. So let's go on to our next one. Return of the Jedi. Okay. I think we're gonna have to do some readjusting here. And we get introduced to the Emperor and Empire Strikes Back. This is hard. Return of the Jedi is hard. Is it good? Yes. It is good. It's really good. I think it's better than A New Hope, just slightly. Because there's just more. It's hard. New Hope's a clean, simple story, and it doesn't have Ewoks. Dang. Doesn't have Ewoks. It's true. It just doesn't have Ewoks. It's a big deal. It's got the action. I love the forest scenes. We get some epic stuff with Emperor and Vader and this whole, can Vader be turned back to the good? And the answer is apparently yes. And it's just really neat. Like the original 3 films are just something special. It's just the third film is a little bit weaker just because the Ewoks more like little kid stuff for toys. And you could tell like George Lucas was going, man, I am making buku bucks off this. We should make things that are cute and fun. So yeah. Okay. I don't remember what are we talking about here? What is that? Hang on, we gotta scroll down here. Okay, that's number 3. I don't know. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Is it really? The Last Jedi. Okay, so it's the first one. Oh, that is the first one. It doesn't look right, but okay. The Force Awakens. I'm just gonna be really honest. This is an F tier movie. This is a terrible film. Here's why. Because when I first watched it, I actually enjoyed it and thought it was amazing. And then I started to realize this is actually the worst of all of the new trilogy once I saw all of them. The reason being is this. Inside of that film, there is mention of, oh, the Starkiller base is just like the Death Star. And then somebody else goes, no, it's bigger. And then they show like a hologram projector and show the Death Star and then like Death Star 1 and then blow up further to show how big Death Star, Starkiller base is comparatively. And so they literally explain inside the film the problem I have in a way with the film, that it is a copy and paste of A New Hope with just bigger and more bombastic scenes. That's it. And okay, copy and pasting movies and then like adjusting them into sci-fi from a Western. It's a little bit of, there's obviously some changes that have to happen, such as like Avatar. and I can understand a little bit of that. However, with this change, what they're doing is redoing the same movie in the same universe, just several decades later in their own universe film stuff. Uh yeah, I no. That that is lazy. That's terrible. And the fact that we believed in it and it made over $2 billion is on us. We should have caught this, and so many of us probably still today say it's the best of the three films. Well, story wise, it is. But why is it better than the other two? Because it's actually just copying and pasting the story of A New Hope and just gender swapping the characters, right? And you still have the old lovable rogue that's trying to help them, the old wise teacher. Um, you still have your pilot that is trying to do things like that, and then you've got your Jedi in training in essence. Uh, I just it's frustrating. I will say that the one change that they did do, I guess, is we have a stormtrooper that becomes good. So there was one little thing that they did, and they were pretending like they were going to change things drastically by making uh, Finn actually the Jedi. And I was at that point I was like, all right, we're going to do this, and then all of a sudden they went right back to the same tried and true tropes. Sad. It really is sad. I just ticks me off that movie. It's just a bad movie because it's just copy and paste from the original New Hope, and that's not really fair to it. All right, The Last Jedi. This is F tier as well. It will go right in front of The Force Awakens because The Force Awakens is worse just because it's a copy and paste. So why is The Last Jedi an F tier? Because they literally had seen or should have seen the original movies, and we knew that Luke Skywalker has the faith of it doesn't matter what you have done, I'm going to try to turn you back to the good side of things, to the light side of the Force. And then they actually have the audacity to say in a film, yes, my nephew was having some evil thoughts, so I decided I was going to attack him in his sleep. Luke Skywalker was planning on that? What in the ever-loving heck are you saying? That is stupid. That is stupid writing. And Rian Johnson just wanted to divide the fan base, which I believe he was on record for saying that he likes to make controversial things that can divide people. And he did. And it's terrible. It's just bad. And the funny thing is, the people that often would freak out were about the scene where Luke is drinking the blue milk from the walrus thing. And ironically, they are incorrect. That is actually one of the best scenes in the entire film because Luke was a farm boy. That would be a thing that he would potentially do. I know farming on Tatooine is different than farming on other planets, but still, he's a hick redneck country bumpkin. If you think that's the bigger issue of that film, you have not paid attention to Star Wars in any way, and you do not actually know these films at all. Just letting you know, you don't. If you think him drinking blue milk in that awkward scene being the worst scene in that film, you literally have not paid attention to Luke Skywalker's character in any way. If you actually are okay with him wanting to destroy his nephew who was having some evil thoughts, you have not paid attention to Luke Skywalker in any way throughout anything. I can get behind the idea of him being upset and hurt that maybe the Jedi Order failed. I could get behind that. However, him in the midst of training Jedi, where it doesn't seem like, even in the scenes that they're showing of him in the past, they're showing that nothing has gone wrong as far as we can tell. And all of a sudden he's like distraught and he's going to go, I'm going to strike him down. And you're like, why? Because he had some bad thoughts and you didn't even talk to him? Like, seriously, what is going on? This is, it's stupid. It's stupid. And it's on the edge of copy and paste too, because they even have a Hoth type battle, and you have a guy on the in the trenches, and they're like, "Oh, does it snow?" And he picks up and licks it, and it's actually red underneath, and he goes, "Nope, salt." It's bad. It's so bad. All right, uh, the Rise of Skywalker, is that the last one? All right, it's F tier too, and here's why. Um, what do I say about this? All right, we're gonna move Return of the Jedi to A tier. It is good, but I don't think it's quite on the same level. Anyway, um, Force the Rise of Skywalker is just it's just a bad film that's very disjointed, and it's just let's do a scene, 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 and that's it. That's the movie. I it's it's a logic thing. It destroys the entire idea of Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader stopping the Emperor. That Darth Vader was the chosen one. It's just stupid. It's dumb. It's not as dumb as The Last Jedi, and it's not copy and paste as The Force Awakens, but it's just a dumb movie. It was bad. Rey is overpowered in all these films anyway, too, and their explanation for why is dumb. Somebody that says this new trilogy was awesome didn't pay attention to this new trilogy at all. They didn't. They literally didn't. There's the reality. There it is. Um, yeah, I just want to be really upfront with you. Like, these are not good films, and that's why they continue to just lose. Like make less and less money as the series went on, because people started realizing this is not actually what we thought it was. And I think if people were actually paying attention, they would have realized The Force Awakens was just a copy paste with very little changes at all. And it's sad. It's sad. It is. So, anyway, next one is Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. I was so excited in 1999, if memory serves, to watch this film, and I actually wasn't disappointed. I think for me, it's actually an S tier film, and on most people's lists, it is not a great film. And unfortunately, I think they're expecting something that it's not supposed to necessarily be, because it is a movie that's more about political intrigue and just the plot that's starting to take shape. But I love the film for actually just one reason, because the CGI is not good and Jar Jar Binks is terrible, but the practical effects of the battle droids are amazing. But I think the other piece that's really interesting to watch too is Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's relationship, Padawan and Master. And Liam Neeson just knocks it out of the park, right? He makes you just feel like you're watching Star Wars again, and it feels like older style Star Wars in a way, with just newer technology at the time. As far as it almost feels like in the original 4, 5, and 6 Star Wars movies, they've almost gone into an economic depression because of the military mindedness. Granted, it's because it was in the 70s and then into the 80s, actual in real life, but it's just kind of that interesting thing. Like, you almost get the feeling of Star Wars universe, like their galaxy has just gone through an economic depression like crazy, and the military is sucking up all the tech, but even their tech is not as in ways high tech, because it just takes up so much space to build it as it maybe used to be. In a way, it's kind of interesting. I don't know. I appreciate the Phantom Menace, because you're really watching the wheels work, and it's a political movie to me, and I love that, because it gives you this dynamic of what is going on behind the scenes really is something intense, and not what anybody's expecting. And these Jedi are here just to do a peaceful diplomatic mission, and it's something way worse than they even realize, and potentially even the Trade Federation really realizes just yet, like what machinations are really being put onto them. I don't know that they know. I don't know that they realize it yet. So it's just kind of an interesting it's an interesting piece. Um, I like the Phantom Menace a lot, and I think the pod racing is just as a kid. I thought everything about that felt so vivid and fun and interesting, and we got to see C-3PO where he starts, and some of that just kind of felt a little contrived in a way, but yet kind of fun somehow. Yeah, I really enjoy the Phantom Menace. The practical effects when they're in use are amazing. Honestly, watching the Gungans fight with their bizarre water tech versus the battle droids is really cool. And the battle droids are just they're obviously they're not as menacing as the super battle droids later on. But I don't think that we just have to escalate everything to something more intense, more scary. The battle droids at that point were all controlled from a ship, and then we see like in the Clone Wars, they actually have their own individual personalities because they operate on their own, and they're kind of stupid, which is fun. But it was interesting that they were more of this pretty mindless thing, but there was a few of them that had almost their own personalities during the film, and they worked so well. They were so fascinating, and you've already had destroyer droids show up in that film. Really cool, like just a neat film. Yeah, the practical effects were beautiful, and then George Lucas really leaned into CGI even more, and that hurt. I still wish we would have seen Darth Jar Jar, that he was actually like a Sith Lord behind the scenes, and the Emperor didn't even know it. Because that theory, I think it's more true than people realize. Because there's moments you can see Jar Jar is mouthing things behind the scenes, like off to the side, whenever people are saying things that are out of character in those first three films. Kind of interesting. Anyway. All right, we have one last film here, Rogue One. This is hard because Jyn Erso is not the most dynamic character, and the pilot as well in a way. But Alan Tudyk as the droid knocks it out of the park. K2SO. I need to watch this film again. It's been a little bit. The big burly guy with the minigun, and the Asian actor from Ip Man. I love him. Like, he's so good at his role, and he plays this blind, not Jedi, but you're almost like, yeah, he's totally a Jedi, just playing around like he's not, so he gets to hide from the Empire. I love their like broship. It's hilarious. Their bromance is funny, and K2SO is just the perfect levity. But it's like it's a group that doesn't really like each other, but they want to stop something because Jyn Erso's like dad, she starts to realize, actually wasn't a traitor and gave himself up to the Empire. Like, he's was forced in order to just to save her life to work for them. And even when he was working for them, he still installed a weakness to explain why the Death Star is got this massive flaw in it. And I appreciate that in a way. And we get to see the Death Star. And this was the film that they took scenes from the original New Hope and implemented them through CGI into cockpits that were different to show where, was it Gold Leader and his group, or is it Blue Leader that wasn't in the film, A New Hope? And that's the reason being is because they went to this planet in Rogue One to try to get the information about the Death Star, and perished. They didn't make it. And I love this film because some people go, it's terrible, and because everybody that's in the film, like, spoilers, they die, they don't make it. And I go, no, that's the film where you talk about the heroes of the story. Why have we ever seen them in anything else? Because they're gone. It makes sense that they didn't show up in A New Hope because they literally all perished on the planet to get the info back to the rebellion to stop the Death Star. They're the heroes behind the scenes that made the possibility of Luke taking out the Death Star possible. And I love that. And we get to see a great scene of Darth Vader being crazy Darth Vader, which is kind of funny then when you go to A New Hope and he's slow, because it's that first film. Whoop, my bad. Yeah. And That's, yeah, I'd say that's like the smallest flaw thing, but we do have a Princess Leia in there and Grand Moff Tarkin. They're obviously CGI'd over someone else's face, and it doesn't look great. That's, I say, probably a weaker point in the film, but I think overall the story is really amazing. And to me, it actually beats out Empire Strikes Back as the top film for me. Something about that film, that it is a sad story. It is. It's very sad. It's do they win? Yes, they do. But do they lose? Yes, they do. And I actually appreciate that there's a balance of those two things. That did they accomplish their mission? Yes, they did. And I think it's a bold move to go, we're actually not going to have them come back for another movie. Now, granted, we have the Andor series for Cassian Andor, uh, where it's like before this, even though now he's older as an actor. It's just kind of funny. But this is the important thing. This was the first time with the new Star Wars stuff, and it's really the last time that truly has felt like old school Star Wars. The Mandalorians had some pieces of that, but Rogue One actually felt like we were back in A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi era, and it was amazing. It was just an amazing concept that they were showing us, that they were willing to put us back more into the 70s, even with the hairstyles and things, to give us this idea of continuity. And I really appreciate that. And the story itself is very strong and very interesting. And we have characters that you may not care about all of them in the same way as you did with Luke and Leia necessarily. But I think K2SO and the big burly guy with the minigun and the Asian actor from Ip Man are just fantastic, interesting characters that they want to see the Empire defeated, and we get to see the Empire doing Empire things in this beautiful, beautiful way, and it's amazing. It's fantastic. What a film! Good stuff there. So yeah, those are the Star Wars films, and well, it comes down to a question. Do you agree with my assessments? I have a sneaking suspicion most won't, because most people don't find The Phantom Menace as good as Revenge of the Sith, which I get. I totally get that. Um, you know what? I'm just realizing. I think to me, Revenge of the Sith I like a little better than Return of the Jedi, and I love Return of the Jedi. I think they're both really good films. I just don't know that they're on the same level as those other four. Uh, oh, this is hard. I don't know, because New Hope starts it. It's not my favorite film, but it does start it. I don't know. I think those A tiers could go up a notch as well. I don't know. I'm struggling with that one. But what is your top film? What's your least favorite? Be willing to justify your answer though too, because that's the hard part, isn't it? Like, we have to justify our answer. Not as fun, is it, when we have to actually say why a movie is good or why a movie is bad, because not all movies are created equal, and I would say Disney Star Wars has not been equal to the other parts of Star Wars except for Rogue One. Rogue One is on a whole different level to the other Disney Star Wars stuff, because it was by people that actually cared and loved Star Wars, and they ran with that. I think that's a beautiful thing. And yeah, it speaks pretty terribly when, to me at least, the sequel trilogy is the worst of the worst. It does not hit on the same level, and Rey is not a good character. She is boring. The fact that anybody would say Jyn Erso is boring, when her personality is pretty mellow, but Rey is so much more boring, because she just has all the powers. She does nothing wrong. There is no failures. Lame. Lame. You know, I think Jyn Erso, from what I remember, she may not necessarily have any like crazy character flaws, but she also doesn't have all the force powers combined, and she's just a girl in a big galaxy trying to find something of a purpose. Whereas Rey just instantly has power and is amazing at everything. and Jyn has to have other people help her make things a reality because she can't do it herself. And I appreciate that. That's a good film. That's a good film. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has been kind of an interesting little romp through Star Wars. I've been Cody from the Keepers of Nerdom. Take care.